Thunder crashes. Rain hammers down on a deserted mountain road at dusk. A man's headlights sweep across something small and dark, lying in the middle of the asphalt, motionless, abandoned. He stops, steps out into the storm, approaches slowly. It's a puppy. Soaked, shivering, eyes barely open. But when he reaches down to pick it up, something beneath its ribs shifts, unnaturally, like something is trying to crawl out from the inside. Daniel had been driving for 6 hours straight, trying to beat the storm that had been chasing him since he left the city. The mountain pass was narrow, winding, and nearly abandoned this late in October. No cars, no lights, just the hum of his engine and the first drops of rain tapping against the windshield like tiny warnings. Then he saw it. A small, dark shape in the center of the road. At first, he thought it was a branch, maybe a bag of trash. But as his headlights caught it fully, his breath stopped. It was a puppy. Lying on its side, mud-streaked. Across golden fur, eyes half closed. Not moving. Daniel slammed the brakes. His truck skidded slightly on the wet asphalt. He threw it into park, hazard lights flashing weakly against the thickening rain. He ran. Hey buddy. The puppy's chest rose. Barely. A weak, rattling breath. Daniel knelt beside it, rain soaking through his jeans, cold water running down his neck. He reached out carefully, sliding his hands beneath the tiny, fragile body. That's when he felt it. A ripple. Not the puppy's breathing, not a muscle twitch. Something else, something inside the puppy, moving independently. A slow, deliberate shift beneath the ribs. Like a second heartbeat, out of sync. Out of place. Daniel's hands froze. The puppy whimpered. Its cloudy eyes opened slightly, staring up at him with a look that wasn't quite fear. It was something deeper. Pleading. Daniel wrapped it in his jacket, cradling it against his chest as he sprinted back to the truck. His hands were shaking. Not from the cold. Back at his cabin, Daniel toweled the puppy, dry by the fireplace. It was a mixed breed, part retriever, maybe part shepherd. Its paws were too big for its body, promising a size it hadn't grown into yet. But it was so weak, ribs showing, dehydrated, probably hadn't eaten in days. He warmed milk, mixed in a little sugar and egg yolk, and fed it with a dropper. The puppy lapped weakly at first, then stronger. Its eyes brightened just a little. Daniel smiled for the first time in hours. "You're gonna be okay, buddy. I got you." He named him Scout. That night, Scout slept on a folded blanket beside the fire. Daniel sat in his armchair, watching. He told himself he'd go to bed soon, but he couldn't stop staring. Because every few minutes, it happened again. That ripple. Beneath Scout's ribs, something moved. Slow, deliberate, like fingers pressing outward from the inside. Daniel leaned forward, heart pounding. Scout's breathing was steady. He wasn't in pain, but beneath the thin layer of golden fur, Daniel could see it clearly now, a bulge shifting from left to right, then settling again. He reached out, placing his palm gently on Scout's side. The movement stopped. Scout's eyes opened. He looked directly at Daniel. And for just a second, Daniel saw something in those eyes that puppies shouldn't have. Awareness. Scout recovered faster than Daniel expected. By morning, he was standing. By afternoon, he was following Daniel everywhere. Into the kitchen, onto the porch. Sitting beside him while he chopped wood. The bond was instant, fierce. Daniel had lived alone for 2 years, ever since the divorce. The cabin was supposed to be temporary, a place to clear his head. But weeks turned into months, and he'd stopped answering calls from the city. Scout changed that. For the first time in a long time, Daniel felt needed. But the strangeness didn't stop. At night, when Scout curled up beside him on the couch, Daniel would feel it, that slow, rhythmic movement. Beneath the puppy's ribs, always on the left side, always the same pattern. Press, shift, settle. Press, shift, settle. Daniel researched online. Parasites, hernias, digestive issues. Nothing fit. And Scout seemed fine, playful, eating well. His eyes were bright, his coat growing thicker. But Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. On the fourth morning, Daniel's neighbor, Margaret, stopped by, unannounced. She was a retired vet tech, sharp-eyed no-nonsense, and the kind of woman who noticed everything. "Heard you got yourself a stray," she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "Yeah, found him on the pass. He was half dead." Margaret's eyes locked onto Scout immediately. The puppy wagged his tail, trotting over to greet her. She knelt slowly, her weathered hands moving over Scout's body with practiced precision, checking his ears, his teeth, his ... She stopped. Her fingers pressed gently against Scout's left side. "Daniel?" Her voice had changed. "When exactly did you find him? 4 days ago? Why?" Margaret didn't answer. She pressed again, firmer this time. Scout whimpered, not in pain, in discomfort. "Margaret, what is it?" She pulled her hand back, her face pale. "There's something inside him." "What do you mean, inside him?" "I mean there's a mass, and it's moving." Daniel's stomach dropped. "Maybe it's not a parasite. It's not a tumor. I don't know what it is." She stood, wiping her hands on her jeans. "But you need to take him to a clinic. Today. Not tomorrow. Today." The nearest veterinary clinic was an hour away, down the winding mountain road and into the valley town of Pinewood. Daniel held Scout on his lap the entire drive, feeling that slow, methodical movement every few minutes. Press, shift, settle. The clinic smelled like disinfectant and fear. A German shepherd sat trembling in the corner. A cat yowled from a carrier. Dr. Carver was young, mid-30s, with tired eyes and steady hands. She examined Scout quickly, her expression tightening with every passing second. "How long has this been happening?" "Since I found him." "And you said he was alone? No other animals nearby?" "Oh, nothing. Just him." Dr. Carver pressed her fingers into Scout's abdomen. The puppy squirmed, whining softly. "I need to do an ultrasound, now." 15 minutes later, Daniel was staring at a black and white screen that made no sense. Dr. Carver pointed to a dark, shifting mass inside Scout's abdomen. "See that? What is it?" "I don't know yet, but it's ... organized. There's structure to it, almost like..." She stopped. "Like what?" Dr. Carver's jaw tightened. "Like something is growing in there." Daniel's blood ran cold. "Is it cancer?" "No. Cancer doesn't move like that." "Then what?" "I need to open him up." Dr. Carver operated immediately. Daniel wasn't allowed in the surgical suite. He sat in the waiting room, staring at a wall clock that seemed to move slower with every tick. 2 hours passed. Then 3. Finally, the door opened. Dr. Carver stood there, still in her surgical scrubs. They were stained dark red. Her face was ashen. "Scout's stable," she said quietly, "but you need to see this." She led him down a sterile hallway into a back room. On a stainless steel tray sat a clear container filled with saline. Inside were 5 tiny shapes. Daniel stepped closer. They weren't moving anymore, but they were formed, fully developed. "Are those ... puppies?" Dr. Carver whispered. "Fetal puppies, fully formed. But they were never born." Daniel's legs went weak. How? Scout's mother must have been pregnant with twins, maybe triplets, but something went wrong. The other embryos didn't develop properly. Instead of being reabsorbed, they attached to Scout inside his abdominal cavity, and they kept growing. Daniel stared at the tiny, curled forms in the container. They were feeding off him. Yes, slowly, like parasites. But they weren't parasites. They were his siblings. Daniel felt his stomach lurch. If we hadn't removed them, he would have died in another week, maybe 2. Daniel sat beside Scout's recovery kennel, watching the puppy sleep. The incision along his side was stitched carefully, covered with a soft bandage. Dr. Carver sat beside him. "I've been doing this for 12 years, she said quietly. "I've never seen anything like that." Why didn't his mother's body reject them? I don't know. Maybe it tried. Maybe that's why she abandoned him. Animals can sense when something's wrong with their offspring. Daniel's throat tightened. She left him to die. Or she knew she couldn't save him, so she left him where someone could. Daniel looked down at Scout. The puppy's eyes cracked open, cloudy and exhausted. But when he saw Daniel, his tail thumped once against the blanket. Dr. Carver stood. He's a fighter. Most dogs wouldn't have survived carrying that weight, but he did, because somewhere inside him, he knew someone was coming. 3 weeks later, Scout was running through the mountain trails like he'd been born to them. His incision healed cleanly. His coat grew thick and golden. His energy was endless. Daniel never told anyone the full story. He couldn't. Who would believe it? But late at night, when Scout curled up beside him by the fire, Daniel would think about what the puppy had carried inside him. Something heavy, something impossible, something that should have killed him. And yet, Scout had survived. Not because he was strong, but because he waited. Because somehow, in the cold and the rain and the darkness, he'd known that help was coming. Daniel stroked Scout's head. "You're tougher than you look, buddy." Scout's tail thumped once. And Daniel realized the truth. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones no one else can see. The weight we carry in silence. The pain we hide because we don't want to burden anyone else. But survival isn't about carrying it alone. It's about holding on long enough for someone to find you and letting them help you put it down.